So this project is about creating interactive tools to make easier the evaluation of large language models outputs. And the need is given the rising use of large language models to classify data, to generate data, and to use this as chatbots, to generate content on websites and in different units of the companies. One main challenge is how to evaluate that in a systematic way, especially once you have a lot of users who have different expertise, familiarity with the content, and they may have different perspectives or ways to judge the data. So our project started with creating a tool to help users craft evaluation criteria. The system, it's called MetricMate, and the goal is to help users curate and fine-tune criteria evaluation once they are evaluating outputs from large language models. We create a series of tools such as suggestions, recommendations, also visualization components so users can see how, for example, the specific evaluation criterion will be helpful to evaluate the outputs. And then the system also shows examples in which the criteria passes or the criteria fails. So users can learn what are the cases in, like, for example, the data, it's not evaluated in a certain way, or how they could change in other ways. And also the insights of that could be helpful to fine tune or change the models that have been used to generate this data. Right now, many companies are employing AI, but there's no clarity about, for example, the consequences of using these LLM models, for example, to create customer service or just like to automate certain evaluations or coding, different tasks that organizations can do. So the hope is that this tool can help organizations, practitioners to evaluate the outputs of these large language models, so they can also have a check while they can evaluate if the outputs are correct, as well as like they can have a systematic way to assess that the information generated with AI it's correct, and also it's aligned to what they want to provide to their customers as well as in their internal services.
I think people make a lot of assumptions when it comes to evaluating a lot of these outputs. So one of the assumptions is that evaluation criteria is easy to define, it's static, it stays consistent over time. But I think in reality, what we have found with our user studies is that criteria is subjective, context dependent, and evolves as users see more outputs. So our research really focuses on involving humans and end users to build tools to support the criteria creation process, especially for these really context dependent and subjective criteria. There's all sorts of other sort of misunderstandings that sort of LLM outputs can be objectively evaluated with, these fixed metrics like blue or rouge. But again, the reality is that evaluation is really contextual and really subjective. And what counts as better sort of varies by task, audience, and values, and it's constantly evolving. So creating tools that support the people who are doing these evaluations, are interested or involved in the evaluation process is really, really important. That users often sort of struggle with evaluations themselves. So even when an AI is not involved in evaluation, users have some struggles with agreement with other collaborators that are evaluating output, or even have self-consistency issues. So designing better tools can really unlock sort of better outcomes in AI evaluation. And it's really important to make these processes sort of transparent and help users sort of identify how they can continue to iterate and be sort of critical of the different evaluations that they come up with. When we ran our research, of course, we are HCI researchers. So much of our inquiry, so much of our research is about involving users in the process. And so much of our focus was around practitioners, people who are already doing these evaluations. So we hope that the findings of our paper, but also the tools that we're creating through this research, can help people run better evaluations, understand the outcome of the evaluations, and sort of be better aligned with the AI evaluators.
Yeah, we heard a little bit from Zahra and Diego already about the benefits of this technology, and this is really what excites me most about this, because it addresses a huge problem in the industry. Right, on the one hand, we have benchmarks, when people make decisions about how to configure and set up their systems, but benchmarks are not use case specific, right? So people who work with large language models or generative AI, they typically refrain to human evaluation, but as we all know, that doesn't really scale very well, right? And using large language models as judges and the tooling we have developed in this project really helps address this problem, right? So if you have to evaluate larger data sets, that doesn't mean we don't have humans anymore, right? But we make the work easier, right? So if we are confident about certain aspects of the evaluation, we can leave that to the large language model judges, right? And if we're non-confident, we would still have humans in the loop. So there's a lot of promise in this technology. It's easy to use, customizable, it doesn't require ground truth, right? So you can really adjust it to those use cases.